What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Cinema Trip Reviews. I am Wyatt, and once again, joined by Alex here this week. We are talking about The Outsiders from 1983. This is such a weird choice. When I asked you about what movie you wanted to do here this week, this was one of them that you brought to my attention. I don't know when the last time you saw this movie was, but I mean, it's probably been since middle school or high school when we had to read the book and then watch the movie.
It's been a long, long time. I only picked it because it's the 25th anniversary of it or something.
Yeah.
It was 2 months ago was the 25th anniversary of it. This year, though.
I gotta say, over all these years since we've, read the book and everything in high school or middle school, whatever that was, I haven't even thought about this movie, to be honest. This is not a movie that you really hear about very often or at all.
It's the Brat Pack.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, though. There's so many actors in this movie that went on to be huge stars. And I mean,
huge stars.
Two of them were already somewhat known at the time. I mean, of course, you got fucking Patrick Swayze. And of Ralph Macchio, the Karate Kid. But all these other actors in here, were unknowns at the time. I mean, just to kind of go down the cast for anybody that doesn't know of The Outsiders, you have Matt Dillon as Dallas, C. Thomas Howell. He's arguably probably the least, popular out of all of them. Ralph Macchio, who was huge in the 80s. I mean, he's definitely more popular now due to the show that's on Netflix. I never really watched it or anything, like the Cobra Kai or whatever it was.
Yeah, I didn't watch it either, but yeah.
I've never seen it. But of course you have Diane Lane, who's in the movie, and she's not in it very much, but I mean, she went on to do some amazing things as well. We already mentioned Patrick Swayze. Rob Lowe, of course. I mean, he's been in a lot of stuff through the 80s, and then he Parks and Rec and all that stuff. And then, of course, Tom Cruise, who you really don't see much of at all through this movie, went on to probably be the biggest one out of them all, other than Patrick Swayze.
He was tripping me out because he almost doesn't look like Tom Cruise. I'm like, is it Tom Cruise? But
he's got the fucked up teeth and everything. Yeah.
It's weird.
It's
and
very
my favorite,
weird.
Emilio Estevez. Emilio!
Mighty Duck, man, I swear to God, I was like, Emilio!
Young Guns,
Mighty Duck Man himself.
Yeah, Mighty Ducks, Young Guns. I love Young Guns.
Young Guns. It's been a long time since I've seen Young Guns.
I'll do Young Guns with you.
And then for the older folks out there, back in the 70s and 80s, Leif Garrett is in this movie. He was a child star. He was a musician and actor throughout the 70s and 80s, I guess. But I mean, he hasn't done really anything since. He was mainly just around that time period. But I mean, this cast is absolutely stacked. Directed by Francis Ford Coppola, one of the most accomplished directors out there. Directed all of the Godfather trilogy, Apocalypse Now, Bram Stoker's Dracula in the 90s, and also Jack with Robin Williams and everything. Yeah. That's one I haven't really seen too often. I remember seeing that a long time ago.
Yeah, it's been a while for me too.
Yeah, but it's based off the book, which was created and written by E.Hinton, Susan Eloise Hinton. Apparently, she wrote this book when she was 15 years old, and it got published when she was 17, which is pretty nuts. And they actually they suggested that she go under the pen name of S.E. Hinton instead of using her full name because they wanted it to, for anybody that looks at the book, and they wanted to kind of be assumed that it was a male author writing the book about, these greasers and, kind of a testosterone-filled kind of book about these guys. So, I mean, it would be kind of weird. I kind of see where they were coming from, where it's it's kind of weird that a woman wrote this, but because I didn't know that. I mean, until I started doing research, I was like, holy shit, I didn't know S.E. Hinton was a woman.
That's not how this story is, though. Once you know it, then you're I could see that it's written by a woman,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly, because through all these years, I mean, of course, when you mentioned The Outsiders, I knew it was about the greasers and everything, but I didn't really know, other than the whole "Stay Gold" Pony Boy quote and everything. That's probably the most well-known thing about this, the book and the movie. I didn't really remember too much, other than that there was a brawl and that someone ends up dying at some point in the movie. So I just didn't really know who it was or where it took place in the movie. I didn't really remember anything at all about this, but I mean, it's kind of a sad movie, man. It kind of pulls at your heartstrings. It's kind of a sad movie, not just about what happens to these characters, just kind of like how they're living and how they're treated by like everybody else in the town and just all the other, kids and everything. Like the Socs, or like just like the other group is what they call them, like the preppy people that live on the other side of town that come from money and everything. Where the greasers just like kind of live in the slums. They're greasy. That's why they call them the greasers. They got greasy hair, they're dirty and everything. I mean, you follow Pony Boy, who is the main character of the movie himself, and it follows
Pony Boy
him.
Curtis.
Pony Boy Curtis, and he does have two brothers. One is Soda Pop, played by Rob Lowe, and that's his legit name. Apparently, said that's on his birth certificate.
Yeah, it's on his birth certificate and everything.
And his oldest brother, Derry, his name is Daryl. Who's like his parents were like, oh, they named him normally, like he's just Daryl. They call him Daryl. Oh, let's just go outrageous with these next two. Let's go Soda Pop and Pony Boy.
But she says, like, it's a pretty good line. She's like, oh, that's a real unique name. And he's like, my dad's a real unique kind of guy.
Yeah. But I mean, he doesn't really they don't really talk about them too much. I mean, he has that dream at one point where he even talks about like, well, when my parents were around, they used to take us out to like the countryside and everything. And then like, they're dead. And then other than that dream sequence, you see the train hit the car. You don't really have an explanation.
Out of nowhere, too.
Yeah. And it's not mentioned really ever again, other than just like, oh, their parents are dead. And it's just Daryl raising them all, Patrick Swayze. I wish Patrick Swayze was more in this movie throughout, because I feel like because he's the more accomplished actor, he was carrying the scenes that he was in. I mean, he obviously has he's more trained than these other folks. I mean, he's 31 in this movie. Other than Ralph Macchio, everybody else was in their teens. Ralph Macchio was
31 in this movie?
Yeah, Patrick Swayze was 31 in this movie. Ralph Macchio was 21. Everybody else was in like their teens, like 15. Matt Dillon was like 18, I guess, in this movie. But there was a pretty big gap between them and everything.
I actually found the family dynamic between Pony Boy, Soda Pop, and Curtis the most interesting subplot. I'm with you. I wish they would have focused more on that. I thought it was a good subplot.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, I mean, when you first meet like Patrick Swayze, like Daryl, he's kind of an asshole. I mean, even whenever he talks about it, whenever Diane Lane asks him about like his older brother, he just doesn't want to talk about it. He's like, oh, he doesn't want me around. Like he just talks about like how much he really hates him, and then he comes home late, and then like he doesn't like hit him, but he like shoves him, and he like starts yelling at him. He way overreact. He's like, he pushed you
away. He shoved you a little bit.
He shoved you a little bit, man. I don't know how old he's supposed to, not Pony Boy, but I don't know how old Patrick Swayze's character is supposed to be, his brother. But I mean, that's gotta be stressful, man. I mean, he's not an adult, I would assume. So I mean, he's out there just working to try to support, his two brothers in this house. And I mean, his brothers all like keep talking about how they're trying to take him away, like put him in like a boys' home or something.
I think he's an adult. I don't think Soda Pop's supposed to be an adult.
No, but he's working. They mentioned like he drops out of school after their parents died and everything.
Because Pony Boy's 16 in the movie, so I gotta imagine Soda Pop's 17, maybe 18.
Yeah.
So he's got to be 19, 20,
maybe
21.
Gary's like in his 20s, like
probably
early 20s or something, early mid-20s.
Early 20s. Yeah, I would say probably early. I mean, they never say, but that's what I would assume.
But I got some facts about the movie here, other than what we already mentioned. Apparently, audition was really weird, according to like Rob Lowe's, his memoir, saying like normally with a casting you would go in like by yourself, do a read, and then if they want you, you get hired for the job or whatever. Apparently, when they were doing casting, they would bring like 30 people in at a time, and each of them would have to read for like 3 different parts. And as they're going through this process, they would kind of just pull the people out that they liked and make them go through the same process. So it was very kind of unorthodox for the time. I mean, not just for the time, but in general, just as far as casting.
Yeah, I could see it. There's a lot of ensemble scenes. So it's not about can you play this character, it's can you play this character around everybody, like
how good is the chemistry with all these other actors and everything.
There's not too many scenes that are like just 1 or 2 people, other than like in the middle chunk is a little bit, but other than that it's mostly ensemble.
Yeah, and there was a lot of, I wouldn't say method acting, but Francis Ford Coppola really kind of treated it as far as like method acting, as far as like the cast. They actually had like Rob Lowe and Tom Cruise stay with greasers for a couple of nights, just random people that they met out of the blue. Rob Lowe was a little like weird about it. He's like, I don't know about staying with people we don't even know, you just found off the street or whatever. But he said it actually kind of like affected him throughout the rest of his life. Like he saw the way that people lived and how that like people were treated and everything. But I mean, everything turned out fine. They weren't like bad people or anything.
They didn't murder him, thank God.
Thank God. But apparently, like the not the cast, but the director and the crew itself treated the different groups differently. Like they actually purposely went out of their way to kind of treat the greasers differently than the Socs. Like the Socs apparently had better hotel rooms, they got better food. Their scripts were like delivered to them in like leather bound notebooks, whereas like the greasers, they just got regular like paper scripts that were like, and they just got shitty hotel rooms, and they kept them apart the whole time. They weren't allowed to like interact. So apparently there was actually like rifts between the actors throughout the course of the movie. So like by the end of it, when they were having the brawl, apparently people were actually getting hurt because they were actually fighting each other. That first hit that Pony Boy takes was real. He got knocked the fuck out. They're saying like apparently that first hit that he takes was straight up. Diane Lane straight up hated Matt Dillon from their first interaction, apparently, not just in the movie, but I mean, she hates him in the movie, but it's pretty real because she just did not like him at all from their first meeting, and that carried into the movie. So I mean, it feels very authentic whenever she is just fucking ripping into him when they first meet there. And also she said that apparently like everybody played pranks on her through the course of the whole movie. They were saying they like put honey on her toilet seat, like in the girl's restroom. They like cut her blanket so when she would go to bed, they were too short. They would put like Vaseline on the doorknobs for like and stuff. Like they were fucking with her the whole time, dude.
It would never get through. Like these people would be in so much trouble now.
Yeah, right.
The blanket one's pretty funny.
The author of the book, E.Hinton, she was actually like a huge part of just not just making the movie, but kind of helping them out with making it. She was on set every single day, kind of giving them notes of what to do and everything. But she also apparently acted as like a set mom for all the like the teenagers and like the main group of kids. Like apparently like Rob Lowe, Ralph Macchio, and everybody was like calling her mom throughout the course because she was like whatever issues they had, she would go to the director and try to settle them or trying to like make them feel okay about certain scenes. Oddly enough, when they're going to the fight, I don't know if you know, but like Tom Cruise does like that backflip off the car whenever they're leaving. He didn't want to do it. He didn't even know how to do backflips, and Patrick Swayze was like teaching him how to do it like right before they did, and he was like so nervous about it, and she was like talking him through it, and she's like, would you feel better if you threw up? And he's like, maybe. So she like went and got him a ton of eggs and like made him like drink like straight eggs, and he threw up, and he's like, oh, I feel better now. I think I could do it.
Feel lighter.
I feel a little lighter now. But yeah, she was like the set mom, taking care of everybody around there. Another part of the method acting, I don't know why they would do this, but Francis Ford Coppola had Ralph Macchio living off of $5 a day, apparently. And he was actually sleeping out on like park benches and parks and stuff. And it's like, dude, like, come on.
Coppola's just a dick.
He's a dick, man. Apparently he wanted like Rob Lowe to like spend the night in jail, and not Rob Lowe, Matt Dillon. And Matt Dillon's like, no, you go spend the night in jail. I'm not doing that shit. Right?
Yeah,
like Matt Dillon was like, nah, I'm not doing that shit. Go fuck yourself.
I'm an actor. I'm not a criminal. I can just act.
Yeah, I can act. Not everything has to be method, man.
Yeah, relax.
So, I mean, we'll hop right into the movie here. It opens with Pony Boy writing The Outsiders. He's writing his story, and it goes right into, I would probably say, one of the weirdest credit sequences that I've seen in a while. It's super strange. Well, I mean, you have the song written by like Stevie Wonder called Stay Gold. I mean, it goes with, Stay Gold, Pony Boy and everything. But the credits like show you twice in a way. Like it shows like the actual like list of everything, and then it zooms in, and then it actually like goes through like credits. So like you're seeing them twice, and it's like, why? I don't know if they're just spreading out that time a little bit, make it a little longer.
This movie is like just 90 minutes. Like it is just feature length. So maybe,
yeah. Because I mean, watching it, it went by like nothing. This movie went by so fast, even though it does have a good story. I feel like there's not a ton to it. There's not a lot to this story. And I mean, a lot of people that were fans of the book were kind of like, not pissed, but irritated because there was certain stuff cut out of the book from when I was reading. And once like, home video and everything came around, Francis Ford Coppola actually went back and added like 20 minutes in there of stuff that the studio actually made him take out at that point. Like some of the stuff that were like they didn't think was going to go over well with like kids reading the book or just other people in general. But yeah, they made them cut.
I mean,
How studios are.
even the book's it's a brisk read. Like, it's an afternoon read. If you would sit down, you could read The Outsiders in one afternoon. Like,
Yeah.
it's not a very big book. It's a children's book. I mean, not a children's book, but like a preteen book, teenager book.
And it's weird because I read that like a lot of like there were schools and stuff that were banning The Outsiders because of how like the depiction of like teens like smoking and drinking and swearing and getting into gang fights and stuff. That was the reason it was banned. But it was like we were reading in that shit in school and it was like no problem. Like we weren't even talked about like any controversy or of any sort.
Also, teens smoke and some are in gangs. Like, this shit's real. Like, I mean, I know it's not the 60s anymore.
It's not the greasers or anything.
But this shit exists.
Yeah, exactly. And apparently, I mean, from what I've read, apparently like Ralph Macchio and C. Thomas Howell still get letters about just from like kids and like reading the books in schools and stuff. And they actually go and do like events at schools and stuff talking about the book and the movie and so how it affected them and just talking about everything in general because kids are still reading this in school and watching the movie and stuff. So it's cool to see like those guys that were involved with it, because they, at least C. Thomas Howell said that's one of like the best parts of being an actor was doing this movie, and now he gets to go and talk to kids about the movie and talk about like how it, the source, like the substance that's in the movie, like some of these strong themes of like stay away from gangs, stay away from drugs, you know how it is. But
gotta spin it.
Yeah, you gotta spin it.
Even though I don't feel like anybody learns a lesson in this. I mean, we'll get there, but I don't feel like anybody except Ponyboy learns a lesson in this movie.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Well, I think at the end of the movie, I think the point was like Ponyboy's supposed to try to get everybody else to feel like that's what Johnny was trying to tell him. But I mean, we'll get to that when we get there.
We'll get there, yeah.
But we had that weird ass opening credits, and you had the slow ass Outsiders going slowly across the screen in huge letters. Like, all right, we know the title. I feel like you could have just had them zoom in on him writing it because you see the Outsiders at the top of his page when he starts writing. That could have been your title reveal. You didn't need to have Outsiders going in huge letters
and then
across
do it
the
again.
screen. Like, yeah, showing the title again, such as the credits. You showed it twice.
Again.
We don't need to see them.
It's a motif, man. It had a theme. Show everything twice.
But the very beginning of this movie is just you meet the greasers. You meet Ponyboy, you meet Johnny, and they're just going around. I mean, they go to like I think it was like a soda joint or whatever, a diner or whatever, and there's, brawls in the parking lot, people fighting already. Kind of you getting a feel for this little town. They go to the gas station, you like meet like Tom Cruise and Soda Pop there. And then they sneak into the drive-in, and it's like, even though it's how these people are living, I mean, I just remember watching a little bit as a kid, reading and watching it, and especially now watching, it's like, man, even though it's shitty conditions, like I kind of want to be a greaser. I want to hang out with these guys, like go sneak into the drive-ins or whatever. I'm not going to be an asshole like Matt Dillon though, because he is the biggest dickhead in this movie, easily.
Yeah, he's got a good heart. I mean, he tries, but
he cares about the people that are close to him, really. Other than that, anybody on the outside is fucking asshole. He's an asshole too.
Socials are assholes too, man. They like bust that guy up. He's got this. You meet
straight up Johnny.
Johnny and his the only one with like out a nickname. Why does Johnny not get a nickname? Like because it's Dal for Dallas and Ponyboy. I guess Ponyboy's not a nickname, but
yeah. But I mean, it sounds like a nickname. It sounds like they gave it to him. But yeah, he has like that cut on his cheek. They talk about like he got jumped like a week or two ago, and some dude was wearing rings, and it like fucked his face up. But he's probably the one that goes through the most, not just the most throughout the movie, but before we even meet him, like his family's terrible, always yelling at each other. He doesn't want to go home. They're
this
poor.
Is a story. He's the driving. Johnny is like the character of the movie. I mean, Ponyboy's along for the ride, but he's
the
really
plot
more
is based around Johnny.
Exactly. Ponyboy's more of like the innocence from the audience. Like, we're kind of getting into it through Ponyboy, so. But Johnny's got it rough. We meet Cherry too. Cherry.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. They sneak into the drive-ins. Cherry and her girlfriend like are pissed off at Bob, her boyfriend, played by Leif Garrett, and his friend. They peace out and they go sit in the seats, and that's whenever like Ponyboy and Johnny and Dallas walk up to him, and Dallas being an asshole, asking her she's a true redhead. Pretty much,
I like when he's like,
matches the drapes.
Well, he doesn't. He's like, does your eyebrows matching. I'm like, he wanted to.
But he's just like not leaving, and she just keeps telling like, leave me alone, dude. Like I don't want
Yeah.
anything to do with you. And he just keeps pushing and pushing and pushing. And then like he gets like he has a nerve whenever she like calls him out, like screams at him. He's like, "Oh, I could take a hint." Whatever. Like, bro, if you could take a hint, you would have been gone like 5 minutes ago, dude.
Well, he comes back with a soda too and gives it to her.
And she just throws it right in his fucking face.
Like after she yelled at him, after she told him to get the fuck away from her, he brings her a soda. Then like you didn't take the hint.
Yeah, you didn't take the hint, dude. You didn't take it. And even like Ponyboy and Johnny were like, dude, chill.
Yeah,
like,
leave
stop.
him alone, dude.
And he even turns on Johnny for a minute. He's like, what the fuck you say to me? Like, oh, you're a big man now, huh? Like, dude, just chill. Like you were way too aggressive, man. You're at the movie.
He's not somebody I'd want to hang out with. I'm like,
No.
you're too much, man. Relax.
You're way too much. Diane Lane is gorgeous in this. Like, I haven't seen too many of her early stuff, but she is gorgeous in this movie.
I'm with you, man.
Ponyboy, you should like, bro. I know you love your boys, but dude, you need to be trying to hook up with Diane Lane.
Should have dropped it, man. Should have went with Cherry.
Because she was interested in him. Like she wanted to talk to him, but she had to, as they were like went up to get drinks and everything. She even mentioned like, hey, if I see you in school and I don't say hi, don't take it personally or whatever it is. What it is like it's just a class thing. Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, you don't have to do that. You don't have to be like that.
You don't have to not say hi. You could say hi to me and say, oh yeah, I saw him at the movie theaters. You know.
Yeah,
like,
and as you're going through the movie, not just Ponyboy, but like other characters, as you're going through, they're like, I'm sick of this shit. Like, I'm sick of this, like, class bullshit. I'm sick of greasers and Socs. Like, can't we just be normal? Can't we just be normal kids? Like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah. And obviously, we never grew up. We didn't grow up in an environment like that. But I couldn't imagine, like, not being able to talk to somebody because they're, like, below my class. Like, what? Or above my class? Like, I'll talk to you if I want to talk to you. Like, leave me alone.
And even though you like Diane Lane, for the most part, that's such an asshole thing to do. Is like, oh yeah, I like you, but because of who we are, I can't talk to you around other people. Like, I can't be seen with you. Like,
even later, and I don't want to spoil it quite yet, but even later when he says, "Hey, you should go see Johnny," she's like, "I can't. I can't be there." And I'm like, "What? Like, you fucking bitch!"
Right?
Like after all the shit he's been through. Kind of because of you, too.
Because of you and your boyfriend.
Yeah, like your
boyfriend even says, like, "Well, Bob isn't always bad. He's like, he has a good heart." It's like, he tried to drown me.
He was gonna kill me. He's not that bad,
bruh. Ponyboy hits it off with Sherry. She's called Cherry because of her red hair and everything. Yeah. As they're talking, like as Dallas, he goes out and gets the drinks. You have like that dude come up to him. He's like, "Hey, where the fuck is Dally? She sliced my tire. I'm looking for his ass." He's like, "He's not here, man. I don't know what you mean." And that dude, like, you don't really see him at all. You expect him to come back at some point and try to kick his ass or something.
Isn't he the leader later? He's the leader, right?
I didn't recognize him.
I thought he was
a greaser.
Yeah, I thought he was the greaser guy, like later in the movie.
The other group that meets up with him, like to join him for the brawl. I guess, but I mean, that's the kind of information is not like provided. You have just kind of like, oh, okay, maybe that's the guy from earlier.
Yeah, maybe.
But he was pissed off. Why did he join them if he was pissed off at him for like slicing his tire? And why are you slicing other greasers' tires, Dallas? What the fuck, man?
Dallas a dick.
He doesn't care. He doesn't care who you are.
I like Dal's living situation. We'll get there too, but I like Dal's living situation. That's why he's a dick. He gets to sleep.
Yeah. But during that conversation with Cherry at the drive-in and everything, that's when you find out a little bit more, like what we mentioned about Johnny, how he's getting beat up. He got jumped a couple weeks ago. You find out about a little bit how he doesn't like talking about his older brother, Daryl. While this is all happening, like Emilio Estevez is like drunk, going in between the cars, like lifting up girls' skirts and like harassing people and everything.
He's my favorite character in the whole movie.
I wish we got to see some more of these characters, like Emilio Estevez, Tom Cruise, Rob Lowe. I mean, Patrick Swayze, we see more than them, but those three we really don't get to see too much of. Emilio Estevez, you see more later through the movie when he's hanging out with Ponyboy for a bit, but you really don't see too much of a lot of the gang here.
He is my favorite scene. We'll get to it. It's much later in the film, but he is my favorite scene in the movie is Emilio Estevez. With the cake. It's with the cake. I love that.
I have it written down with the cake.
With the cake.
But they are actually leaving the drive-in afterwards, and they get confronted by the Socs, Cherry's boyfriend and his friends, and they're like, "Oh, you try to steal our girl," trying to run up on it, and they're calling him greaser, calling grease balls, white trash, and everything. And Emilio, they're drunk as shit, and that's the main thing. They always mention that they're drunk, and they always make sure to point that camera at his flask that he's always holding.
Yeah, he's always drunk.
Yeah, and Emilio immediately like, fuck this, we're fighting, busts the bottle, gives it the Pony Boy, pulls out his knife, like, let's do this, we're fucking fighting, let's go.
Which was a comb earlier. I mean, I guess he's got a few, but like, because he combs Johnny's hair earlier in the movie.
Maybe he has like a switchblade comb too.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. And I was like, did he just pull up a comb? And I was like, oh no, that's nice. That's real nice.
And I like after like everything cools down, he's like, I don't know why the fuck I gave you that bottle, Pony Boy. I know you weren't going to use it anyway.
He even says to Cherry, he's like, I wasn't going to do nothing with it. He's so soft-spoken. He's almost like that dog. Like, I wasn't going to do nothing.
I was good. Yeah, because I mean, Pony Boy, you can easily tell he's not like the other guys. I mean, even Johnny, though. Johnny, like him and Johnny are just kind of like, I forget what Cherry calls them, but like they're, I wouldn't say soft, but they're lighthearted. They're not, they don't mean trouble. She says, like, I can't see you getting in the brawls or, robbing places or, fighting people or anything like that.
I gotta say, and I'll just say it now because the drive-in theater movie is when it focuses on them. Those two are not good in this film. I don't think their acting's good.
Who?
Like there are Johnny and Pony Boy. There are some lines they deliver that are so wooden, and I'm just like, these are like actors that went on to have huge careers and they're very famous. I'm just like, man, some of these lines are just delivered terribly. Like that was the take he took. Like some of them feel like first take kind of shit. Like you're just kind of reading it out.
That's a wrap. Let's go.
Especially we're getting up to it. They have the fight and they go home. Johnny's parents are fighting, right?
Yeah.
Johnny's parents
doesn't want to go home.
Doesn't want to go home, so they hang out in the park. Some of those scenes where they're like sitting on the couch, I'm like, oh my god, man, like this is bad acting. Like this is
and it makes you wonder, like, why would you pick these guys for the main roles? Like,
like Amelia Estevez was great. Tom Cruise has some bad lines in there too, but even better
for the little lines that he has. Yeah,
Patrick Swayze, great in it. Great. And Pony Boy gets better as the movie goes on. I don't feel like Johnny, other than the last scene with him, is ever that good. Yeah,
and I mean, he doesn't really have much of an excuse either because he's already been established as an actor. I mean, Karate Kid came out a year after this movie, so I mean, it was already being made.
There is a Ralph Macchio when they superimpose him and he's reading the letter to Pony Boy.
Yeah,
it's terrible, man. Like it seems like he's actually just reading this thing. There was no emotion in his voice. I wanted to bring that up in the end, but
it's a thing. It's like it's both. I feel like it's part the actor, just kind of just being bad. On top of, I feel like some of the dialogue was just over dramatic and a little like, I don't know, and I think like soap opera-ish type thing. Like
yes, I think the direction sometimes isn't good because there are. For both of those actors, I know I just hated on them. There are scenes that are very good acting. I'll get talked about them when they get there. But but this scene that we're like, they're in the lot right after the parents are fighting. It was bad. It was bad acting.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of as far as like C-Tom is how is like a lot of the stuff when he's like real like crying or whatever. Like whenever Johnny's in the hospital and he's like visiting him, he's like. Yeah, you could have did a couple more takes of this or something. Like that was a little rough. That was a little rough.
Could have had one or two more take. Yeah, they come back.
But yeah, they're just sitting. That's when he talks about like he doesn't want to go home, and you can even hear like his family yelling like in the background.
Yeah.
But that's when Johnny's talking about how he wants to just go somewhere normal. He hates being in this town.
Killing himself.
Yeah, which is great. Like he's like
comes out
14, 13 or something, talking about like killing himself and everything. That's some heavy shit to put on like teenagers.
I mean, I think that's why the book is good because. And I came from like a family that fought, and I love my family, but they were a little broken sometimes. And like, it's not that it's never been through my head. I mean, I never would have done that, but 14-year-olds feel like that. 14, 15, 16, that's when you have so much emotion bubbling up in you. That's why I think the book is good.
Yeah.
Because it shows that, hey, you're not the only one having these. You're not the only one having family issues. You're not the only one who feels these feelings. Because when you're a kid, man, everything's the end of the world, Like, your family fighting. You're like, I just can't take this anymore. So I actually do
but
like
I mean,
that.
your family's fighting, and like he always mentions, like his parents don't even know he's there unless they're like punishing him or hitting him or something.
Yeah, he
They
says I
ignore
kind of
him
like when my dad hit me. He's like, I like when my dad hits me because
he's like
he's the only time he notices me. And I'm like, Jesus,
Jesus
man.
Christ, and like they're they just by the base off the house and everything, they're broke too, and then on top of that, he's getting jumped. He's like getting abused by like people at school, getting treated differently by the other kids from this other part of town and everything. Like this is a combination of one after another, everything on top of it.
Johnny's got a rough.
Johnny's got a rough more than everybody else, I feel like. I mean, other than like Pony Boy where his parents die and everything, but like
but
Johnny's got a real rough.
It seems like he's got his brothers. Now Pony Boy's
got
going through
nobody
some shit at this point
other than
too.
his friends,
Yeah, I'm surprised that they don't let Johnny, because he says to Johnny, like, hey, you can come to my house if it's cold, because he wakes up hours later.
Yeah.
And Johnny's like,
he has that dream we talked about though, when he says about like he misses going out to the countryside with his parents, and then it's like has that nice sunset in the field and everything, and it just hard cuts to that fucking train hitting the car. Like, what the hell? And then he just wakes up. Like, what the fuck?
I would do. Like, oh shit.
Damn. But yeah, he like wakes up. It's like 2 a.m. or whatever. He's like, what time is it? He's like, I don't know. We fell asleep. I just woke up too.
I woke up too. I'm surprised because he's like, oh, I'm just gonna lay here. He's like, if you get cold, come to my house. Why would you just let him come to your house? You know,
right?
Like, that's only if you get cold.
They're all part of the same gang. Like everybody knows Johnny. Like why wouldn't? I mean, I guess Daryl just wouldn't want to another mouth to feed or support somebody else, but still give him a place to crash. Like how terrible his home is. Yeah,
exactly. And he could have collaborated your story too. Like, hey, we just passed out in the park. Johnny's parents are fighting. We're real sorry. You know, like I don't know. They just left him.
Yeah,
not for long though.
And he's sitting there sleeping with like newspapers all on top of him and everything. He goes home, and that's when we talked about like he comes in and Patrick Swayze's all pissed off. He's sitting in that chair waiting for him. Looks like he's been calling around. And he's like immediately confronts him. Where the fuck you been? 2 a.m. and whatever. And he's like, I fell asleep, man. It happens. I'm sorry. I guess you could tell this has happened before a couple of different times. So he's just pissed off. He's dealing with everything as far as the house, having to support everybody. I understand he's probably stressed, but yeah, he just shoves the shit out of him, and he kind of blows it out of proportion a little bit. He's like, he hit me. I'm leaving. I'm running away. He goes and grabs Johnny. We're running away, which doesn't last long because they run down the street, and he's like, let's just go to the park and maybe I'll cool off to go back home or whatever. He's like, you just told me we were running away, Pony Boy. What do you mean?
I was ready. I was packed.
I was ready. Don't joke with me about that. I'm ready to go. But yeah, that's whenever like they're getting followed by, Sherry's boyfriend and his friends, drunk as shit, driving around town.
How long have these guys been driving around? 2 a.m.
Right, it's been hours after the drive.
They fell asleep.
Hours later, just driving around looking for these guys, I guess. But yeah, they're the only ones in the park just hanging out. Where they even said like, "Should we leave?" And he's like, "Nah, play it cool." It's like you guys should have just left. Like it's 2 a.m. Nobody else is around. A car full of guys are stalking you. You got to get out of there, man. Like
big guys too. Like much bigger than they are.
Exactly. Like I don't care if you got a switchblade. Like that's not gonna do much against 5 dudes. Like get the fuck out of there. Like I know you want to be tough, but come on. And this is what sets up the events for pretty much the rest of the movie here. They get jumped by the guys. They try to kill Pony Boy by drowning him in that fountain there, and I kind of like that effect because they beat the hell out of Johnny, and then they just kind of turn their attention to Pony Boy. They're all holding him down in the water, and you just see Johnny take his knife out, and it just kind of cuts to the water, and all you see is like the blood go across the screen and everything, and then it just cuts to like the sky view and the body with the blood laying there, and you see like the water's filled with blood. He's like, oh shit, Johnny just straight up murdered a guy. And
the cinematography in this movie is really good.
Yeah, I mean, that's Francis Ford Coppola, man. That's what he's known for. But
there's some great shots.
You could tell he's going through it. Like he's in shock. He's shaken. He's coming to terms with what he just did. I mean, Pony Boy's he was just drowned. He's passed out. He's waking up like, what the fuck happened? I killed him. This is
one of I was talking about, there are great acting scenes. This is one of the scenes where he's shaking and he's talking, and you can hear his like talking through his shaking. And Marissa's like, is he cold? He's not wet. And I'm like, he's not cold. Like, you ever just been so like you're so nervous and so like there's so much like you just can't like help but like to shake. I was like, that's what he's doing right now, which I thought was
Can't get
great.
it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like you can't get like the jitters out,
Mm-hmm.
because I get that way too, and like my jaw will start to shake and stuff.
They don't know what the fuck to do at this point, so they're like, let's go find Dallas. He'll know exactly what to do. And that's when you cut to like his living situation, like you mentioned. He like lives above a bar, I guess,
Yeah.
or it's a party. I'm not quite sure, but they like
It looks like a bar.
It looks like a bar based off the the neon signs and stuff outside.
But again, 2 a.m. should be closed. Should be done.
You would think. But
Yeah.
I mean, the dude that answers the door is Tom Waits, who is like a musician. I mean, he's been in some other movies as well, but he's more so a musician than anything. But that's his little cameo. Is just like, what do you want? You can't come in. He's like, go get Dally or whatever. He's like, I don't know. He's like, just tell Pony Boy Johnny's here. Like, he'll come out.
He'll come.
He'll come. But yeah, he like wakes up and he comes out and gets him. And he's straight to like, all right, here's what you got to do. I'm going to give you a gun. I'm going to give you $50. You're going to catch this train at like 3:50 and you're going to go out. There's like a abandoned church out in the middle of nowhere. Get supplies for a week and just lay low. Don't leave the church at all. And I'll come get you when like the coast is clear or whatever.
He says a week. He's like, a week when it cools down. I was like, a week?
A week
after
for murder?
Yeah, like a week. Also, it seems like Dallas moved there, right? They talk about a few times how he's from New York, right?
It's insinuated that he got busted before. He was in jail in New York before. Yeah, and then I guess he moved out there because he didn't think he was going to get in as much trouble.
Yeah, right. But why does he know about? Because he's like, even later, he's like, man, this is a bum. Why does he know about this church? Like, how the hell does he hide out there before?
Maybe.
Like, I don't know.
He talks about murder before too. So like maybe did he murder somebody in New York or something? I don't know.
They don't go into it. Maybe in the book.
But this is where you really get to see the other side of Dallas, though, through these scenes with like Pony Boy and Johnny. Even though he like gives them a hard time, it's nowhere near as like how he like antagonizes like Sherry or anything. He actually genuinely cares about these dudes. Like even whenever he goes and gets them, and Johnny's like, "I want to turn myself in," he's fucking freaking out. He's like, "No, you don't want to turn yourself in. Like prison changes you. Don't do it." Like he's trying to convince him not to.
You know, he's big brother in this kid in his own way. Maybe not the good way. He's just hiding them with a gun, but in a way,
doesn't have good morals or moral decisions as far as Dallas
steps up
goes.
too. He steps up in the getting there.
Kind of, yeah.
This is pretty quick, but they do take this train up to this church that they're supposed to go to, and they hang out there. And I mean, we can go into this, but this is a big chunk of the movie of them just chilling in this church, almost doing nothing, reading Gone with the Wind, hanging out.
I actually had a line written down that I forgot. Whenever they go and meet Dally, Johnny says, "I wish I had a weed right now." And I was like, "That is such a weird way to say it."
Man, I wish I had a weed now.
Chris, is that a weed?
I wish I had a weed right now.
It just reminds me of that Vine where he's like, "Chris, is that a weed?" And he's like, 911, what's your emergency?
But yeah, like you said, this does take a big chunk of the movie where they're just hanging out, and it has like a little montage of them just doing random shit around, like they try to catch that rabbit. That's
they cut their hair.
They cut their hair.
Pony Boy looks way different, sure. Johnny doesn't look.
The dude that killed somebody should be looking the most different, not the dude that's just accomplice.
Exactly. They like, why do you get 2 things of peroxide, dude?
Like, yeah, because what he got like a pack of cards, a baloney for a week. He got Gone with the Wind because they went and saw that movie at one point, and Johnny says like he can't read, so he wants him to read it to him. Yeah, but yeah, like you said, they die.
He writes. He must be able to read. I just don't think he does read.
Oh, okay.
Because he writes a letter later. Anyways.
I assume that the nurse wrote it for him.
Well, because he asks for Gone with the Wind also, because he says he's going to read it.
True.
But anyways, doesn't matter.
They dye Pony Boy's hair and cut it, but all they do to Johnny is just cut his hair a little shorter. It's not even that much shorter. Like if they should shave his fucking head or something if you're going to do that.
Well, they were saying the knife hurt just pulling. Imagine
skin, like you're accidentally scalping him. It looked like it hurt though, the way he's like fucking pulling on his hair, just sawing through it with the knife. And everything.
This knife's not meant for sawing.
No, not at all. Or cutting hair.
Maybe grab littler chunks. But yeah, they hang out for quite a while. I would say it's probably
time.
What is it? 30 minutes of the scene. Well,
the movie
probably
close.
And really the only important thing is this is where they set up the stay golden. They watch
Yeah.
us. I thought they watched the sun rise together because he says he wakes up early,
That's what I
but
was saying. He wakes up
but
early because they
yeah,
normally don't wake up early and they go out and watch the sunrise. But they do
but
mention
later,
sunset. Yeah.
later that he's like show Dallas sunset. He's never seen one. I'm like, what?
Yeah, he just
Sunrise? I'm
mentioned
sure he's seen plenty.
sunrise.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's seen a sunset. I'm sure he's out all night all the time.
I literally thought the same thing whenever they said it.
Yeah,
I was like, wait a minute.
I thought it
that
was a
doesn't that isn't
sunrise.
right. But yeah,
But anyways,
that's wherever he like the whole he reads like the not reads, but he like recites like the Robert Frost poem and everything about stay gold, pony boy, like stay golden and everything.
yeah,
So Eden sank to grief. So dawn goes down today. Nothing gold can stay.
it's about the nature turning and things don't stay golden, and he's like, I never. Again, super kind of weird. He's like, I never understood it. That's why I remembered it. I'm like, yeah, that's what most kids do. They don't understand something, so they remember that. Like you usually remember the things you understand, like not
Yeah,
the things you don't.
and Johnny kind of has like his own definition of it a little bit later, like at the end of
Later,
the
yep.
movie in the note where he talks about is like kind of like a childlike innocence of staying
Mhm.
golden, and is like that makes sense too. So there's a couple different ways you could look at it, and a couple different ways they kind of
Which is the beautiful
give you
poetry.
that message in the movie.
Yeah, Robert
But
Frost
even
poem.
like as they're talking, he even talks about how like Johnny and Soda Pop and Sherry are the only people that he can really talk to about that kind of thing. Like he can't talk to
Sherry.
fucking like they just started talking.
Just met Sherry.
Just met Sherry. But
And she said how she's not gonna talk to him anymore.
yeah, but Johnny's really the only person that Ponyboy can talk to about that kind of stuff because everybody else is fucking, greaser head, macho dude. They're not all about reading or looking at sunrises or sunsets or anything of that. You get made fun of for talking about that shit in the group.
This is another good thing that they have established that we haven't really touched. They do really establish these people's friendship, like these two friendship,
Yeah.
which obviously is going to affect us a little later here. But I think the camaraderie that they established throughout the whole film is pretty good. I do believe these people as friends, as brothers, as people that care for each other.
Yeah, because even though they're as a whole like a greaser, they're one like gang.
Mhm.
You get the understanding that like Ponyboy and Johnny are about the same age. They're probably in the same grade. They grew up together, like as peers. Like everybody else is a little older than them. Like
Yeah.
they're the ones that are really close more than anybody else. I guess Dallas, they're pretty close with Dallas, but it seems like Johnny and Ponyboy have a connection that nobody else does.
Yeah.
Speaking of Dallas, that's when Dallas decides to show up about like 5 or 6 days later or something. He shows up, makes fun of his blonde hair immediately when he comes in.
Of course.
Takes him
Bums
out.
a
He's like, "You guys
cigarette.
want to go get some food or whatever?"
Yeah. Don't peek your head up, but let's go get some food.
Yeah. Hey, the coast is cleared out. It's been a week. Don't worry, man.
Yeah, it's
I'll
been a week.
take you to
You're done.
Dairy Queen, get some food. Pulls out his gun in like the parking lot. He's like loading his gun. And then like the kids walk over. "Hey, you got like 15 cents?" He's like, "Nah, don't. Get the hell out of here."
Get out of here. I think this is where they establish the gun's not loaded too. He pulls the clip out and there's nothing in it.
Yeah.
Which
Because that
again,
comes up later in the movie as well.
This is
a
a
couple
bunch of
different
just
times.
setting up. Marvel moving us right now. It's just setting up stuff.
Like, oh, that's gonna come up later.
That's coming.
Whenever they meet up with him, Dallas gives him Ponyboy a note from his brother saying like, "I heard you got in trouble. Like, I wish you would turn yourselves in. Like,
Yeah, we miss you.
We miss you. Like, Daryl didn't mean to like whatever he did. Like, he didn't mean to hurt you and everything.
He's
like, come
awfully
home."
sorry.
He's awfully sorry.
Awfully sorry.
That's another
I
thing.
don't-
Some of the accents in this movie are just terrible too. Like some seem a little like natural, but the other like some of them are just like, all right,
They're
this dude clearly hasn't done his accent before, other than this movie. But Dallas kind of gives them that information that like there's an even bigger rift now between the Socs and the Greasers because of the death of Bob. And they're preparing for like a gang war, like a turf fight, I guess, and that's
Jets
why he
versus
talks about he's
Sharks.
been carrying a gun, but he doesn't keep it loaded. Just kind of scare people off if he has to.
Yeah. We're Jets versus Sharks in this right now. Set it up.
Just start clicking and singing and stuff. It's fucking West Side Story up in here. And this is so fucking weird too, because they get food and then they decide to go back to the church. There's a bus full of kids and people at the church now. When it was an abandoned church, there should be nobody there. So in that time frame that they just went and got food, all of a sudden just this bus full of kids went out
Like on
to this
vacation, like onto a field trip or
a
something.
field trip
like
to an
just,
abandoned church, and then it's on fire and there's kids inside. So I'm like, how did this? You assume the fire started because of one of the cigarettes, because earlier, whenever they're hanging out, like Johnny falls asleep with a cigarette and he's like, "Hey, Johnny, watch that shit." But you never find out what started the fire. You just kind of assume because you saw him sleeping with a cigarette earlier, that's what happened.
After
but it's never mentioned.
It's never mentioned. After I watch movies, I look at other people's reviews just to kind of get a general census of it. Every movie, not even just when I'm coming on with you. But a lot of people were like, "Oh, it's a schoolhouse on fire. It's a schoolhouse on fire," but they reused the set. And I'm like, it was the same church. I thought so too. It looked like the church, and when they're inside of it, it looked like the church.
Yeah.
So I was like, either they reused the set and it was intended to be a schoolhouse. I thought I was with you, or I thought it was the church.
The whole area around it looked like the same field and stuff that they were in before. But it just looks like they left and people just came along that church and decided to let their kids run around an old abandoned church.
Exactly, like a field.
And then it was on fire. Dallas immediately is like, "I'm not fucking. I don't want any part of this. Not our problem. Don't worry about it." And of course, Ponyboy and Johnny are like, "No, we got to help these kids." They run in, actually save the kids. I mean, Dallas finally starts helping them by pulling the boards off the windows and pulling kids out. But of course, I mean, Johnny, he gets trapped in there. The roof falls. Ponyboy goes in after him, and then everything collapses.
No, Dow goes in.
Oh yeah, Dow goes in. Ponyboy's out. Dow goes in to get Johnny.
Again, this is another thing that Dow does not care about other people. He did not want to save those kids. But as soon as it's Johnny in trouble, Dow's like, "I'll go in now."
Ah, fuck.
I'll do it.
And he yells at him later,
he's like, "Don't do that."
All you had to do was not go in the church.
Don't go in. Everybody hopes that they would be the hero that would go in. I feel like I would. I do love this next scene. So
fat fuck and that other woman were useless too. Were there. Useless. That dude should have ran in after those kids.
That fat fuck's got one of my favorite lines when they're smoking.
And at the hospital.
He's like, and I love an oxygen tank rolls right by him. Dude. They're both just smoking in this hospital. And I'm like, holy shit, man. And that's such different time. I'm like, oh my God, that thing's gonna blow the fuck up. They're gonna deal with another fire.
They're gonna be a fire in a hospital. Matt Dillon's so pissed. Dallas, he's like, son of a bitch. I told these kids.
You know, you shouldn't be smoking, son.
Why not?
Because you're a young man, that's why. It's a bad habit to get into.
You're smoking.
I'm smoking, I'm older than you are.
But Ponyboy doesn't get hurt at all. I mean, he just seems like he's ventilation. What's his name gets very hurt. Johnny,
he's got like 3rd degree. He's like in the burn ward, like laying on his stomach and everything. Dallas, just like inhalation.
It looks like it's just his arm. Yeah, he's
his
in
arm
there for
broke
a while
or something. Yeah.
Yeah, burnt maybe. This scene is one of the scenes that actually made me tear up. Though, is when Patrick Swayze and Soda Pop come back in,
and they're like, that hug.
And I was just like, and Marissa's like, "Are you tearing?"
Like, I'm so sorry, man. Like you could actually tell, like, man, that's what I'm saying. This is why we needed more Patrick Swayze in this movie.
I know, it was good, man.
He's so fucking good in this movie.
That was good.
Like, just that little interaction between them, like, man, I'm so sorry. Like, don't ever run off.
It's a 10-second scene. Yeah, it's 10 seconds.
You don't get to see, you have like that 10-second scene of him before. So, I mean, we've only seen Patrick Swayze in like 20 seconds of this movie, but just from hearing about him and hearing the relationship with him and Ponyboy, that bonding moment where they embrace, man, like you said, it works. It works perfectly.
It teared me up. I was like, oh no.
And from that point on, he does act like his big brother going forward. Like, he does genuinely care, and he's there for not just him, but everybody else in the group as well.
I like there's a motif. It's about to come up about how the only thing that separates him from the Socs is them. And like you can really feel that because they were saying how Patrick Swayze could have been a Soc.
Yeah, if it wasn't for them, he would be. Yeah,
like he's there because he loves them, or he would just been a Soc. Even though that doesn't make any sense to me. Like he's still born, he was still poor. He just played football. He was muscular, so he could be a Soc.
Yeah, because as you find out, like the one dude that's part of the Soc, like he played football, and they were actually good friends growing up. And then, of course, everything divided them. But that's class warfare, man.
Class warfare.
But that's whenever, I mean, you get to see a little bit of Matt Dillon in the hospital. I love like the nurse that's like, he's just giving her a hard time. She's like, I cannot wait until you're out of here. I cannot wait until you're gone.
Yeah.
Even in like the hospital, fucked up. He's such a dick.
They go home, right? They
Yeah.
first go home.
Yeah, they go home, and that's when like the gang comes over to see Ponyboy.
Fill
Talk
his
about
eggs.
they're all in the news as
Yeah.
heroes, are being like labeled as heroes, even though Johnny's gonna be like I guess
Yeah.
tried for manslaughter still. I
Yeah.
guess.
They said they're trying for manslaughter, but they still say he might get off with self-defense. They talk about that a little bit.
And Dallas even says that Cherry would say that
It's
like
willing to-
testify for him, saying that, like the dudes were drunk and that like they were actually looking for a fight and everything. Like, and that's why Johnny wants to turn himself in. Is like, if she's gonna testify on my behalf, like I'm fine, right? I should be good.
Yeah, he's got no choice now. Now, why is Ponyboy released instantly? Like he would still be trialed
as like an accomplice to murder,
as an accomplice. Like even if he wasn't,
or
I understand
or something.
Questioned or held or something. Like they just let him go home. They're like, we might take him to a boys' home. We might take him to a boys' home. We'll come check later.
They said about like juvenile services or juvenile court wants to not just send him, but also Soda Pop. Yeah, they want to send him to a boys' home, and it just kind of gets thrown under the rug because Daryl's like, "Oh, don't worry about that, man." He's like, "Don't worry about that, man. We'll figure that out."
Yeah. It comes up like one other time in the movie when they're going to clean the house.
Yeah.
But my favorite scene coming up, Emilio Estevez and the whole gang comes in. Tom Cruise, what's his name? 2-bit is Emilio Estevez. Steve. He doesn't get a creative name.
He doesn't get a cool name either.
So
but he had me cracking up first because the whole time that everybody's talking, Tom Cruise is just macking on cake out of his hand. And he's chocolate all over his face. All over his fucking face. And he doesn't have a plate. He's just eating chocolate out of his bare hand.
It looked like a good piece of chocolate cake, though, man. This looked like a good chocolate cake.
But throughout the course of the whole scene, it starts out with a little bit around his mouth, but by the end of that scene, it's all over his fucking face, and he's just sitting there watching TV.
And he's going to work, and they're watching
cartoons. He goes to work with Soda Pop.
They're all grown-ass men. He's like, hey, Mickey Mouse is on.
They're all watching, like, cartoons.
You're all grown-ass men excited because Mickey Mouse is on. And listen, I love Mickey Mouse, too, but, like, I don't know. It was just, like, weird. I don't know. I think 2-bit's supposed to be a little older also.
He seems older.
Seems older, at least.
I mean, doesn't seem like he has a job or anything like Soda Pop or Steve or anybody. Or
they say
Daryl.
He's a bum.
He's a bum. Daryl, I guess he's a roofer. They said, like, because he's, I forget what he says to Ponyboy. Like, don't be out there. If I catch you doing something, I'll, like, forget what he says. I'll ring you up. Yeah, but he's like, oh, if I catch you carrying around, like, more than whatever roof tiles, then I'll, ring you up or whatever.
Yeah, me and Soda are going to ring you up.
Yeah. But yeah,
well, this is my favorite scene. Is Ponyboy's like, well, we're gonna clean the house, and the first part of Emilio is like, man, if I clean this house, my mom is gonna have a heart attack. Like, he's like, if I clean my own house, my mom will have a heart attack. And then he sits down with a beer and the whole fucking chocolate cake, everything but that piece, and he just like scoots onto the floor.
That one piece that Tom Cruise took out.
No fork or nothing. And he just starts picking at this cake, and I'm like, that cracked me up.
Early in the morning too. This is like bright and early in the morning. People are going to work, and he's eating cake with a beer, watching
with cartoons. A beer. And that would be such a gross like mixture.
Combination.
Watching cartoons, watching Mickey Mouse while Ponyboy cleans the house. Then
that's whenever they go out. They go out to like the Dairy Queen or whatever, and that's when I mentioned like the dude that was, Bob's right-hand man on the Socs, Randy, he actually comes up to, like, Ponyboy and like, hey, I want to talk to you. And I thought it was going to be a setup because as they're sitting there talking, he's like, hey, why don't we get in my car or whatever? And I just, like, for something with me, I was like, is he just going to drive off and, like, take him somewhere? I didn't remember this part at all. But it was actually a really good scene where he, like what I mentioned, he's like, I'm just, I'm tired of this, man. Nothing's going to, like, fighting is not going to resolve anything. Like, I'm just sick of this. I'm sick of just... Let's just all be normal. Like, not this isn't going to accomplish anything. like what are we doing here?
Yeah, no, this is and he says about like if we just fight, it's gonna get ugly. I imagine something real bad's gonna happen. This is where he talks about that, right? He's like, I think something bad's gonna happen.
That's after he talks with Randy, because that's when he's sitting there on the bus stop with Emilio Estevez, because that's when he's saying on the bus, he's like, I just have a bad feeling like something terrible is gonna happen tonight. It seems like both ways though. Both some people from the Socs and on the Greasers are just sick of everything. Like they're just tired of fighting. They're just tired of the whole north side of the town, south side of town type stuff.
this is where they go and visit, because it's Emilio Estevez, 2-Bit, and and Ponyboy, and they go and visit Johnny.
They visit
here,
Johnny
right?
at the hospital, and he said he wants a book. So Emilio Estevez goes down and gets him the book, and that's what Johnny and Ponyboy kind of have that little moment together.
Yeah, they have a little moment where Johnny's crying, and he's just like, he's sick of it, he's tired of it. He doesn't want to die now. He's like, I always wanted to kill myself, and he's crying. He's like, but
he's
I
like,
don't
I
want
have
to
so
die.
much I haven't seen, so many places I haven't been to, so much I
want
want to do.
I want to see another sunset, like.
And then he's like, I can't feel anything. Like, my back's broken. The doctor said I'll never walk again, even with crutches or something. Like,
yeah.
God damn,
And he's like, don't
Johnny.
talk like that. Yeah, like, you've been through it, man.
Yeah, and he's like, you could tell he has like 3rd-degree burns everywhere, because he's like, they have him laying on his stomach and you can see it all like all over his
you
chest.
just see
and
like
stuff.
pieces. And then his mom comes to visit him, and he's just like, I don't want to see her, and he just like kicks her out. And he's just like, no.
And
he's
the
like,
nurse is even like, she's her mother. Like, he wants to see you.
Like,
He's like, no, I don't want to see her.
I don't care. I don't care. Get her out. Yeah, she just wants to yell at me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what he says. Like, she's probably just yell at me for doing something wrong.
Yeah, she's just here to holler at me.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's rough. But that's a rough scene. That didn't make me tear up, but that's a rough scene where you're just like, Johnny's going through it.
Yeah, and that's whenever you like cut back to like Matt Dillon. Like, they go stop at Matt Dillon's room afterward, Dallas, and that's
tell
where
him
he's
how beat
like,
up he is.
Yeah, and he's just like, I've got to go out and win this fight for Johnny. So, and they feel like,
Johnny, man.
He's way over dramatic in the scene. 'Cause he's like, give me your knife, and he like takes his knife, and he doesn't even use it for anything. He like flicks it open.
I think he tries to cut his his hospital band off. Well, his hospital band off, because and I don't know if this was on purpose, but he's got a cut on, like, when he rolls back over, his band's just cut a smidge and his wrist is cut. And I'm not sure if the actor accidentally did that. Like, and then they were like, oh, just keep going, or that was the best take.
I just didn't notice it, because I just, for some reason, I thought he took it, and then like, because he turned over and while he's talking, and he does that, but then like, it didn't look like he did anything else. So I was like, what was the point of taking your knife?
I think his intention was to cut himself free, but I think I don't think he meant to, because they don't put like a shot on it, but like, you can see his like wrist is like just like cut up or something.
See, I
don't know if it was makeup or if he accidentally just cut it.
Yeah, that's something I didn't even notice.
He's mad. he wants revenge for Johnny.
Yeah, I don't know why. Revenge for Johnny.
I don't know why the Socs have anything to do with the predicament Johnny's in, though. Other than, I understand trying to drown him,
because
he murdered him.
Yeah,
Johnny murdered him, and also he went into the church. Like, that's why he can't walk. Have nothing to do with the Socs. But anyways, they're gonna fight.
Because Johnny killed their boy. I mean, I guess maybe because they attacked him first and tried to kill Ponyboy. Maybe.
I guess.
But yeah, I mean, they already hate the Socs enough as it is. They just need an excuse, I guess.
Excuse to fight.
That's whenever you're kind of gearing up, ready for the brawl and everything.
It's just everything happening.
They meet up with Cherry, and I like even though the scene's kind of I like how it's set up, where it's like that far away shot where it's just you see their shadows on the hill with like the trees and everything, the sunset.
And she pulls up.
Yeah, and that's when she's like, "Oh, they agreed on your terms. There's not going to be any weapons. Like, it's just going to be
nickel."
Which is like, why is she even here? Because she even said like earlier in the movie, she's like, "I don't want anything to do with fights. They're dumb. Like, why is she being like the middle person?"
They call her their spy. Matt
Dallas.
Dallas says it. I like that scene too.
We have a person on the inside.
He's like, she hates me, man. She really hates me.
She really hates me.
You think I should date her? You think I should go after her? He like right after he says
clueless.
How much, right after he says how much he hates him, she's like, I'm gonna try, because then Ponyboy throws away his like whole burger. He's like because he talks about dating him. Anyways, I'm going back.
But that's whenever she was like, maybe you should go see Johnny or whatever, and she's like, no, I
can't.
He killed Bob. It's like, what do you mean? Bob tried to kill me. Like,
Bob tried to kill me.
You never got to see the good side of Bob. He was caring. Me. He was loving. He's like, you're the one that was trying to fuck with me, or like
Ponyboy's
behind Bob's back. Like, what do you mean? You were two-timing Bob.
He was caring. Well, I didn't notice while I was under the water. I didn't see the good side of it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I couldn't tell how caring he was because he was holding me underwater trying to kill me.
The lack of oxygen into your brain will do that to you, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean,
I just missed it.
Yeah, that scene was weird. I feel like they could have had someone else come in and be like, yeah, like we had a meeting with them. Like they're not going to use weapons. They just needed a reason to bring Cherry back because you don't see her again at all through the rest of the movie.
They needed a reason to bring her back because she's good looking and she's fine.
Hey, I was totally
not
fine with
quite.
seeing Diane Lane again because she was
Like,
gorgeous.
let's go
in that
Diane
movie.
Lane. Gorgeous.
She's gorgeous in that movie.
Let's follow her. What's she doing for the
Yeah,
rest
what
of
is
the
she
movie?
doing during this whole time?
The spinoff. I want it.
They go back and they're having like that little powwow at the house before they're going out and fighting and everything. And then like
They don't want everybody to go.
Yeah, Derry tries to talk him out of it. And he's like, "Listen, man, I'm fine." He even says like, "I'll take the smallest guy." Like,
It's
there's
just
no
skins.
weapons.
There's no weapons. Yeah.
Yeah, if there's weapons, I can understand, man. But we'll be fine. Don't worry about it. And they keep mentioning about how he could be sick too.
Yeah,
like,
which never comes up.
Which never comes up again. Where it's like, "Oh, it's Pony. There's something wrong with Pony Boy." Because there's a couple different times that like he's coughing, and they're like, "Oh, don't get sick on us" or whatever. Like,
Well, there's even a part with Amelia Esther. He's like, "Don't tell Derry." He's like, "I'll take some Advil. I'll be fine." Like, don't tell Derry.
Yeah. And it's like, you think that would come up like what's going on with Pony Boy? But that just gets thrown out. Maybe that's a part of the movie that got cut out, like from the
Probably, yeah. I love when they leave though.
Yeah, they're hyping each other up. They're like yelling and screaming.
Did you see Patrick Swayze do that just completely vertical handstand on the fence?
It blew my mind at first. I was like, "Whoa!"
I was like, "Holy shit!"
He holds that handstand for a minute, and then he just like flops backwards.
I was like, "Damn!"
I was like, "What in the world?" And then Tom Cruise does the backflip off the fucking car. I was like, "These guys crazy!" And this is like 4 or 5 years before like he does Roadhouse, where he's probably like peak fucking physical Patrick Swayze condition.
Did he do Dirty Dancing yet? Because that's what he's.
I don't know. That's what I was just gonna say. I'm not sure when Dirty Dancing was made.
Yeah. So while you look that up, but they're walking down the street, they're getting hyped, and Tom Cruise is like, "Nobody's gonna yell at us," and like, because he's talking about the cops come. 87. So this was after.
Like 2 years before. Yeah, it was a couple of like 4 years after this. 2 years before Roadhouse.
All right. Wow, he did. All right, we're getting sidetracked. I've also never seen Roadhouse, by the way.
Oh, Roadhouse is great too.
Cody just yelled at me about it the other day.
Roadhouse is a good one.
Well, they get to this fight. It's just like a junkyard, or not a junkyard, like a park.
Yeah, it looks like the
like
Sandlot kind of, like just like a lot, empty lot.
Yeah, they tell the Soda Pop and what's his name, if cops come, get the hell out of there. You know, and then all the Socs pull up, drinking.
You can hear them yelling and everything as they're pulling the cars up. Yeah, nobody else drinks as much as the Socs apparently. They're all alcoholics.
Yeah, like you never really see the greasers drink. They're never doing
cigarettes
anything
all the time.
And, like
that's their vice.
That's their vice. Yeah. But they meet Patrick Swayze, and he doesn't have a name.
Just the dude, his old friend from high school. They played football together and stuff.
Leader of the Socs, and then we get a terribly choreographed fight.
Bro, I was gonna say this is on par with probably like the Warriors. Like the way it was choreographed a little bit. As much as I fucking love the Warriors, we've talked. Go back and watch our Warriors review. We make fun of the fighting in that movie a bit too.
I like this movie too, but like
how funny, like coincidentally, it starts thundering and raining as soon as they're about to fight.
Instantly.
Like you hear the thunder when they have that stare off, like that stare down, and you have like, of course, everybody lined up and is slowly going across like both sides and everything, gearing up. But as soon as they start fighting, that's when it's fucking pouring rain.
And like not a sprinkle, just downpour, just straight downpour.
Everybody's like taking turns punching each other, like waiting for their turn.
Except for Ponyboy, they're whooping up on Ponyboy.
Like I mentioned, that he gets the first punch of the fight. Some dude just clocks him, and apparently that's real. He straight up gets knocked out in that opening part of the fight. But yeah, the whole fight is just taking turns punching each other, throwing each other.
Yeah,
none of it's realistic at all.
No,
you could tell it's just choreographed. They maybe like learned this fight sequence like 10 minutes before they actually filmed it or something.
Patrick Swayze is the only one who looks at all convincing with anything he does.
Because he actually knows how to fight. He knows how to do, he knows martial arts and stuff.
But the whole time they're fighting, Ponyboy's just yelling for Derry because he's getting his ass whooped.
He's getting his ass kicked.
And
he even tells him, stay near me. He tells him before the fight, stay close.
We forgot to mention, right before the fight happens, Dallas does get out of the hospital. And he comes in. He's like, I'm ready for a fight.
Right in time. Right before that first punch. He's like, I'm here.
I'm here.
He has no shirt on underneath his leather jacket. Just like, I'm here.
He's out though.
Yeah, he's there. He made it to the fight.
long fight too. Like
Yeah.
it feels like it's like 5-10 minutes. Like,
I
it's
just
like a
picture
long fight.
everybody like everybody's cool with fighting each other except for like wanting to fight Patrick Swayze. I feel like I don't want to be the guy that has to fight Patrick Swayze.
Oh.
He knows what he's doing. I'm gonna get fucking killed if I fight Patrick Swayze.
Well,
That's why
I'll
he
take
looks
it.
like he knows what he's doing. He's actually fucking people up.
Greasers
And he's
win
the only one that
fight.
looks super cool
Oh.
doing it too.
And he's buff too, and he's Patrick Swayze. He's in that tight black shirt, man. Like
Like the same
looks like
outfit he
Patrick-
wears in Roadhouse, pretty much.
Yeah,
Except for
same
he doesn't
outfit
have this. He doesn't have the super long hair he has in Roadhouse. But he
Yeah,
has
yeah.
like that super tight shirt with his sleeve rolled up. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
same outfit he wears and everything. Sorry about my volume.
pretty
drop.
much. Dirty
Yeah.
Dancing.
Sorry about my
Everything,
volume
dude.
drop. My mic fell.
Oh.
That's why my volume like went down. But anyways, yeah. So they win the fight though. The Greasers win
They
the fight.
just
So
kind of
run.
off, with their tails between their legs.
And maybe I just missed this part. This is where I'm a little confused. Then like the next scene, you see Dallas and Ponyboy driving, but like he didn't go home or all. They just like went in the car with Dallas. And
They were gonna go to
this car.
They were going to see
See
Johnny.
Johnny. No, I
But
get
yeah,
that,
where did
but-
they get the car from?
Where did they get the car? You think Patrick
Well,
Swayze would
maybe
want
it's
to
the
talk
car
to
he
him?
borrowed because he says he borrows the car from somebody whenever he picks him
Oh,
up
yeah.
to go get
Nah,
food
maybe.
when they're at the
Like,
church. So
took
maybe
it
it's the
from the
same car.
hospital.
They just put the hood up, like the top up, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah,
just
they're
assumed
like
that he
fucking
ran.
flying around those turns, and the cop pulls him over. He's like, "You gotta have a good excuse for this, buddy."
Yeah. He's like, oh, he's real sick.
He's real sick, but it's like they both look beat to shit. He's like, this guy who's just in a motorcycle accident, like
Yeah.
he's like, I don't know how serious it is, but he's beat to shit too. He's like, what?
I'm not a
the cop
doctor.
doesn't ask him like, well, what happened to you then?
Yeah, he's just like, all right, follow me.
Like, follow me, I'll take you to the hospital. But man, like the timing on this is
Yeah.
terrible. Not great. They go and tell
Yeah.
like, hey, we won the fight, Johnny. And it's like, oh great, what good did that cause? Like Johnny's
Johnny
like,
did
why would you
over it.
fight? Over it.
Over it. Yeah. And sick on his back now, also.
Yeah,
I
they
don't know
moved him
where
on
he's
his back
burned.
now.
I don't
So
know
why
where
he's laying
burned.
on this burn part now.
Yeah, I don't know if it was burned on his stomach or I don't know where he's burned. He's
Yeah.
burnt though.
Yeah,
But
and this is the heavy
this-
scene where
This is
he's
the famous line.
Stay gold, pony boy. Stay gold.
Yeah, stay gold, pony boy.
Big old pony boy.
Fucking, and he
And
croaks, man.
he
He
just
dies.
dies. He just basically says, "No more fighting. I'm tired of this shit."
Yeah,
And then Pony Boy,
and
stay
you
gold.
have two different reactions here. You have Pony Boy who is just,
Upset.
he's upset. He just lost his best friend. He's going through it, and then you have Dallas who fucking loses his
Goes off the-
mind.
yeah,
He
going
goes
off the
off the
handle.
rails.
Yeah.
And I don't remember this. I mean, I don't remember a lot of this. I really don't remember this, where he goes out and he's like, hey, that doctor tells him, like, hey, you can't be in
Yeah.
here. He fucking pulls the gun on him. I can go anywhere I want to go. And he fucking
Hey,
pulls
you
the
won't
trigger,
stop
but
me.
there's no bullets in it.
Yeah.
But he fucking pulls the trigger like if there was. He's just going to blow this doctor away, dude.
Well, he's losing it.
He's fucking losing it. And even whenever Pony Boy goes back to the house, a completely different situation from earlier in the movie because Daryl's like,
Again,
where you
how
been,
did he get
Pony
back to-
Boy?
How do you get back to the house? Because it doesn't seem like Dylan takes him back or Dal.
No, they separated. So I guess
Yeah.
he just ran or walked back.
How I don't understand the logistics of this town, man.
It's a small
How
town,
far-
man.
Yeah. All right. Anyways, but he
Small
goes
town.
back. He's upset. Another
Yeah.
great scene. This is another great scene.
But it's like a different, kind of the opposite how we saw earlier, where he's pissed off when he's coming home late. He comes home late this time, but you can immediately tell something's wrong. And like Patrick Swayze, he's such a good actor. He's like, what's
Yeah.
wrong, man? Like he tells everybody,
This
like
movie too.
Johnny's dead. He's like, fucking he even tells him like Dallas is losing his mind. Like he's off.
Dallas isn't doing good.
He's not doing well at all.
This
But
scene
then
made me cry too.
Johnny's dead. Told him about beating the Socs. I don't know, he just died. Told me to stay gold.
With
Just
Dallas?
the Patrick.
Oh,
no,
where
with
everybody-
Patrick
yeah.
Swayze. The Dallas scene didn't make me cry, but it is sad. But we're getting there. But we cut to
Yeah.
Dallas.
Dallas is just out of convenience store, just looking at magazines. The cashier's just staring him down the whole time. And
There's a
he's
Batman
just-
comic in there. No, it's Batman.
But he's just looking to cause trouble. He fucking like rips the magazine and walks. He's like, "Hey, you're gonna have to pay for that." And he just fucking stares that dude down for a minute before he pulls that gun out. And he doesn't just point it at him. He like puts it in his face, like in his eye, like,
And he robs him. He robs his place.
robs his ass. Like
Yeah.
gives him the money and
Gets shot at.
everything. Gets shot at. Well, he gets shot too. You find out
Yeah,
because he
you
goes.
don't care.
Yeah, he's running away after he robs a place, goes to a payphone, calls like Daryl and everybody, tells him like, meet me at the park. I just robbed the place. I need to lay low. You guys got to help me out. Or it's like, you should have thought about this like literally 5 seconds ago, dude, before you did all this. Like,
he's not thinking though, man.
Now is not the time to, come to your good senses. Like, oh, I just
he
robbed
never
this
does.
store. But yeah,
I think this is just showing he's kind of losing it. I mean, I think he thinks Johnny Boy is like his little, or not Johnny Boy, Johnny is like his little brother.
yeah.
I mean, he's just losing it.
He's at the end of his rope. But yeah, he's fucking booking it down that street. The cops are chasing him, and just when his buddies get there, like to the park, like all as a group, that's whenever like he even pulls out his gun, like, you're not gonna take me alive.
And they're all screaming, it's empty, like
it's empty,
it's not loaded, he's just a kid. And you're just like, oh,
blasted, dude. Like they're just laying into him.
Shot to shit.
That's an like it's back to back, man. You find like Johnny dies, and then for a whole different reasons, Dallas goes out and gets himself killed, and it's like Jesus.
You would think Johnny dying is like the peak of it, but that's just like the crescendo of it, like, and you just building up to this Dallas death, which is also awful. And then they just let him like approach their bodies. Like,
yeah, the police would be like, you guys gotta leave.
Back up,
yeah, this is a crime scene now.
Yeah. Like they're all just standing in his body. And they talk about how he's just a kid, even though he looks like a grown man throughout the whole movie. But that's fine, whatever. Willie suspense of disbelief. They say he's a kid, and they just shot this kid down.
They don't get questioned, I guess, either, because they knew how to meet him. They knew to meet him there or whatever. But it kind of just cuts to that next day where Ponyboy's just kind of sitting in his room, and he finds the note in the Gone with the Wind book written by, by Johnny. Yeah. And that's what we talked about before, where he's like, I didn't really know what it meant. Like what, like the Robert Frost poem meant before, but then now he knows what it meant. It's the innocence.
It's your innocence, yeah. It's your newness. It's your innocence.
Yeah.
This is terrible too. And maybe this is just me, but I hate when they like superimpose Johnny's face like beside Ponyboy.
That's a Francis Ford Coppola thing, man. I mean, there's a couple different directors that do it. He did it a couple times in this movie as well. I think it worked better. When did they do it? They did it another point in the movie too. But it worked better earlier than it did. It was whenever, I think it was during the fountain scene, whenever Ponyboy was being drowned, I think. Maybe. It was like, I forget when it was, but he did it earlier, but it worked a lot better than this, though.
Yeah, this one just isn't good. And like I said, the reading's kind of terrible. Like, there's no emotion in his voice. Like, he's just kind of like reading. If
it was done better, it would definitely have been more emotional, especially with how he keeps talking about Dallas. And it's like, damn. Oh, yeah. Like, where he's like, well, yeah, like you mentioned, where he's like, I don't think Dallas has ever seen a sunset or whatever.
Yeah,
make
like, sure you take Dallas out.
Yeah, and make sure to tell Dallas and everybody, like, this none of this matters. Like, this whole thing, this war between like the greasers and stuff, like none of this matters. Like, but his whole thing is like, make sure to tell Dallas all this information. He's like, oh man, of course. Like, oh, sorry, Johnny.
Should have read this a little earlier.
But like, yeah, if it was performed just a little bit better with more emotion, I think it would have been more effective. Whereas, like, he's just reading a note at the end.
It is good. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's fine. It gets the point across. Or have
Ponyboy read it, and I feel like maybe it would have been more emotional.
It would have been good if I don't know. It fizzles. Unfortunately, like, I feel like it was like great scene with Johnny death, great scene with Dallas death, and this last one. I mean, I understand it has to fizzle a little bit, but it like is like and then he starts writing again, which we already saw.
There's no like closure really. It just goes. It cuts immediately to that scene where he reads the note, and then boom, he starts writing his story, and then boom, credits.
It also kind of looks like he's in the country, like, because they kind of pan out to like his window, and I was like, is he in the country? I mean, I didn't really tell.
Maybe. I don't think they were just going. They just wanted to show the the sunset or the sunrise, I guess, the golden
sunrise, sunset,
whatever. You know how
he says sunset, but I'm pretty sure it's a sunrise.
He says, I'm pretty sure they talk about sunrise for a majority of the damn movie, but he says sunset at the very end.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the movie. I feel like you said, it does end without a little closure. I feel like you could have added something there. Maybe there was supposed to be. Maybe that's something that they cut out of the ending. There is a director's cut. That wasn't the one that was on HBO Max, so I don't know what all's into that director's cut. But I think for the most part, I really enjoyed the movie. I think I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to after watching it. Because as a kid, I remember liking the book, but I don't remember liking the movie nearly as much as the book whenever we had to watch it in school, because for some reason I perceived it as like it felt like a TV movie type thing whenever we were watching it in school. It felt very like not an after school special, but it felt very like a TV type movie. Whereas watching it now, where it's singular as a film, I feel like it works.
I bet you broke it up in school too. I bet you watched it in like 4 chunks, which
Maybe.
probably didn't help to that, because
Exactly.
you didn't have an hour and a half class.
No,
you know, you had 40-minute classes, 50-minute classes. So I bet you they broke it up over three or 4 times.
True, and they're also with school and everything. It was also a little preachy too, with just the teacher and what like the message they were trying to convey with everything. Whereas watching it on our own all these years later, I think it definitely works a little bit more, and I understand it, and I think I appreciate it a little bit more than I did way back when.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just review it. I'm with you. I liked it. I actually kind of remember liking it more when I was a kid. I feel like I really liked it when I was a kid. I didn't quite like it as much this time, but it's a classic. The Brat Pack. This is the Brat Pack. Like this is where it all stems from. Some of the acting's good. Some of the scenes are smidge slow for me. The middle drags just a bit, but I think it's worth it for
mainly with the church stuff.
But I think it's worth it for where you get to. I think the good way outweighs the bad. It's a rent it for me personally. I don't know if I'd buy this movie, but
I wouldn't say it's a buy.
It's worth watch.
Out of a buy it, rent or miss it, I would say definitely rent it if you haven't seen it. I wouldn't say buy it. I wouldn't even say miss it, because it's not a bad movie by any means. No. I mean, it's Francis Ford Coppola. There's a reason he's a top director in the game. He's a huge name as far as directors go. The cinematography is great in this movie, and how it's how it's done. Like you mentioned, there is a couple different things that maybe I wouldn't have done, like have like the superimposed like close up with whatever else is going on in the background. But like, I don't know. I think it was very well shot. I think for the most part, it was really well written. I think it was as close to the source material as you could get. I mean, apparently it was supposed to be even closer, but the studio made them cut out some of the stuff from the book. I don't know. I think it was a good film though. It was a good watch. I actually, I like I said, I appreciated it more than I did from all those years ago. And I actually, because there's so much history and there's so many like famous actors now that it's in so much shit and they're so huge. It's interesting to go back and kind of see where these guys started from and how they got their start. And I wish that just because of who they are and who they end up being, I wish that maybe some of these guys would have gotten more screen time or would have gotten, do some more stuff in the film. Because like we mentioned, it's mainly Ponyboy, Johnny, Dallas, and then Daryl is probably the other but the more seen character. Or two-bit.
Daryl, 2-bit, yeah.
But, I mean, none of the other guys really get to do too much other than, like, be at the brawl and just kind of be in the background, have a couple lines here and there. But, like, I totally would have liked to see more, like, Tom Cruise, Emilio Estevez, even Rob Lowe. I mean, Rob Lowe is his other brother, and you barely get to see him or hear from him.
Barely see him. I mean, he's just the nicer brother.
Yeah.
Release the Sherry cut.
Yeah, put more Diane Lane in the movie.
Yeah, but I mean, I think we were pretty much in the sentiment. You said earlier how it's kind of written like a little soap opera. It
comes off a little soap opera-ish, like as far as the acting, and a little over dramatic. Even though it is a drama, it's a little over dramatic at points.
I think you have to know that when you go into the movie. It is not it is such like a violent boy topic, and I say that in quotations, but it's definitely more of a macho topic, but it's written very like poem and dramatic, which is fine. I think that kind of works for it a little bit, but you have to know that going in. Like, you're not going into like the Warriors. That's a macho movie. There's not really like a message about this is about gangs fighting. This isn't really what this movie's about. Even though there is gang fighting, it's not.
From the outside looking in, for someone that may not know what like the exact story, it's easy to say like, oh, it's about gangs. It's a macho like story,
but it's not.
It's completely not. It's completely not at all. Yeah, you make a valid point with that, man.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, I dug it though. Good. I don't know if I don't know when the next time I'm ever gonna watch it is. Like, I don't know if I ever need to see it again.
Probably when my kid reads it in school.
It's like, oh yeah, I'll watch the movie with you.
Come on, let's do it.
And then you get to show like, oh, this is where I know this dude from. This is where I know this dude. Patrick Swayze. Pretty much what all this is leading up to is like maybe we should cover some more Patrick Swayze movies on the show.
Let's do some more Patrick Swayze movie. I like
Patrick Swayze was the best fucking actor in this movie. And it'd be cool. It'd be cool to do like Roadhouse or something down the line.
I've never seen it, so I'd be down. We can do Patrick Swayze month too.
That would be cool.
When did he
too,
die?
man.
When did he die, or when's his birthday? We can do a fucking.
Shit, he actually died a decent while ago now.
Yeah, it's been a while now.
Like
yeah.
2017. 2009, damn, way long ago, way longer than I thought.
I know it's been a while.
Point Break, dude. Point Break's so fucking good. God damn.
Point Break's really good.
Keanu Reeves. Dirty Dancing's good, but it's not really like my type of movie.
I probably have seen Dirty Dancing
Ghost.
more than anything. I've never seen Ghost.
We could watch Tu Wong Fu. Thanks
I'll
for
watch
everything.
Tu Wong Fu.
Have you ever heard of that movie?
No,
It's
I'll
like
watch
it's
it.
him, John Leguizamo, and Wesley Snipes, and they're dressed in drag for the whole
in
movie.
drag. Oh yeah. I have heard.
I've
I
never
didn't know
seen
the
it.
name, but
I've never
heard
seen
it.
it.
I've seen it.
I've seen pictures of
I've
it
seen
and like the
pictures,
poster
yeah.
and everything, and it looks ridiculous.
Oh man, easily my favorite movie is Fox and the Hound with him in it. Easily.
Oh my god, I totally forgot Patrick
His
Swayze
voice
was in
fit.
that movie.
He's a voice. His
I
voice
totally
of Copper.
forgot that shit.
Yeah. Or not Copper.
That movie
whatever
is
they
sad
were.
as that's gonna make me cry if we watch Fox and the Hound, dude.
I love Fox and the Hound, man.
It is. I'm a hound dog.
I'm a hound dog.
But yeah, that is a review for this week. I did enjoy this movie. Like we mentioned, it's not one that I'm probably going to go back to anytime soon, but it's definitely one I would say I would recommend for anybody that hasn't seen it, especially with, the star-studded cast that's in the ensemble cast that's in here. There's a couple movies that have huge ensemble casts. I don't know if there's any as good as this though. As far not movie-wise, but I'm saying like talent-wise, like this cast.
And it's quick. It's so quick. This is 90 minutes to to the minute. Like
this
it's
was a
boom,
breeze.
Done. Yeah,
to get through.
Done it. Yeah.
Is there any last thoughts on the movie here, Alex?
No, man. It was a weird pick, but I'm glad we watched it.
All right, man. Next week on the show, my old buddy Brett Parker from Dissect That Film is going to be joining me. Once again, we're going to be talking about The Matrix Reloaded for its 20th anniversary. Me and him reviewed The Matrix last year, talked about it, so we decided to bring him back here, and we're going to be talking about the second one because he's never seen the Matrix trilogy. Well, I guess it's a quadrilogy now, but he's never seen them. So, I mean, we actually had to watch the first one last year. We're watching the second one. This is the first time he's ever seeing it, so it's probably going to be a confusing episode because that movie is confusing as fuck. So be on the lookout for that one. That should be a good review. We actually are planning to do The Matrix Revolutions, the third one, in November or September, one of the two, because they were filmed back to back. So we're going to be doing them in the same year because they were released like 6 months apart.
But we are going to be
having
a fourth.
Yeah, well, we're not going to wait that long. We're not going to wait that long to do the fourth one, as long as they took to make the movie. But we are planning to do like a special giveaway whenever we do the last one, the third one, the actual main trilogy. When we finish that up, we're going to be doing a giveaway for that. So be on the lookout for that one next week. Where can everybody find you here, Alex?
Here, man, I got to get the Tap That channel coming back, but it's been a while since I've just getting married soon. I got 27 days.
Yeah, you got a lot
left,
going on, dude.
Hopefully, as soon as I'm done with the wedding, I'm back on my grind again. But I'll be a different married man, hopefully editing. An editing married man.
But yeah, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Check us out on Instagram and Twitter at Cinema Trip Reviews. Anywhere you get your podcast, leave us a good review there. And we'll see everybody next week.